Why? Because we're only giving them the
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Nice to see everyone. This is our monthly Grow Business Speaker series. We've got an incredible program today. Before I introduce our speaker, I just want to start by thanking our community partners who've made this program possible. This is the Business Speaker series that's brought to fruition thanks to our chamber leaders in 4 specific communities. We've got Shannon Walker in Aurora. We have Melissa Lensing in Herman. We have Tanya Watson in Buffalo and Aaron Rower in Eldon. And thanks to their organizations, their leadership, their vision, we're so excited to be able to bring incredible speakers like the one you're going to hear from today. As you are listening to the conversation, there will be an opportunity to provide us feedback. What did you think of today's content? What's something we can do to make the content even better? If you have ideas, thoughts on who else you would like to see us invite to this conversation, we welcome your feedback, and there's a link that you can see on your screen right now. Any information that you are seeking on previous audiences, previous speakers, let me just share with you. You can find that as well at, one second. You can find the information on our Business 911 Speaker Series platform. And if you go to that platform, there's a place where you can see all of our previous recordings. And so there's a whole host of them. And so that's a good point to introduce our speaker today. We haven't had too many repeat speakers. And so our speaker today, Brandon Welch, has that distinguished, it's our privilege to have Brandon with us twice. Brandon is the president, the founder, a chief strategy officer for Frank and Maven. Frank and Maven is a marketing agency based out of Springfield, Missouri. And Frank and Maven and Brandon, they do work all over the country. Their sort of secret sauce is really not just being an advisor and a guide to companies, but being a partner that helps organizations learn how to do better marketing, how to avoid making the mistakes that suck up marketing dollars and the precious marketing money. So Brandon is just incredibly brilliant. We had a chance to hear from him about a year ago, and we're so excited that he has joined us again. So Brandon, welcome, sir. So glad you're with us.
Hey, thanks for having me. That's
absolutely.
Tell me where to send the check for that introduction, because that's sure.
I certainly will. Well, we're so thankful that you've joined us, and I know we're looking forward to hearing tips from you. As always, if you're hearing us on one of the many Facebook pages that our content is being broadcasted on, you can put your questions in the chat rooms, and we will be monitoring them. And so without further ado, again, thank you, Melissa and Shannon, who I can see on the screen right now. We will all turn our screens off. And Brandon, the floor is yours, sir. Welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me, for sure. Glad to be here. My roots are in small business, and you hit on the most important thing that I would want said about me or our company, and that is honestly, our first and foremost mission is to teach what works and what doesn't work, and how to think strategically about marketing to as many people as possible. And that goes way outside of the clients that we work with on a one-on-one basis. A Maven, which is one of the parts of our name, is somebody who gathers information for the sake of educating others. And I'll tell you a little bit of my story in here in a little bit, and kind of why that became so foundational for us. But just to jump right in, we're talking today about the topic that will not leave us for quite a while, and that's the pandemic. And pretty early on in the shutdown era last spring, we went straight into that helping serving mode. Nobody really knew what was going to happen, but we produced this thing called the 131 Ways to Keep Business Alive, and just put it out, and it got downloaded several thousand times across the US. We kind of spent our own advertising money to put it out completely free, and all it was just literally, in my opinion, 13 of the brightest people that I know, which I'm proud to call my team, sat down and said, let's just brainstorm every freaking way we can think to do something for business. And we don't know if it's going to save business, but we're going to do something. We're not going to sit here and worry. We're going to do something about it. And so we've been asked to speak on the topic lots of times since then. But I think a lot of that is still relevant, and you're welcome to download that guide. It's free on our website at frankandmaven.com. It's one of the first links. It just says download the guide. But I want to focus more on growing out of a pandemic, as we have some light at the end of the tunnel, and as we see vaccinations happening and people returning to a new strange, not a new normal, but a new strange, but yet there's a lot of this pent up demand in the economy. And I want to share some things that I don't think will change for quite a while, if ever. There's some permanent shifts that have happened. And then I left quite a bit of room today just to talk one-on-one with anybody who wants to solve a problem out in the open. So I hope that's a good use of our time. I'd like to talk less and listen more in these types of settings. So hopefully we can do that. And I would encourage and ask any of you to use me for the only thing I'm good at, which is solving marketing problems. So we'll jump right in here. The quick standard stuff. This is our team. We're based in Springfield, and we serve companies all across the U.S. Probably half our business is in our backyard, and the rest is literally from coast to coast. And we're primarily working with owner-operated companies that are in growth mode. So people who are really good at something and they want to do it for more people. And there's a tremendous amount of waste that happens in marketing. And so we kind of have this mission, this warpath that we're on to eliminate bad marketing decisions. And the truth is there's no such thing as bad advertising, but there is an abundance of misaligned message strategy in media. And one of the biggest things that we do, and here's a few local-ish companies you might be familiar with, just to put some brands to our name. At the end of the day, we generated over 40,000 selling opportunities for our clients last year with websites, search engines, paid traffic, TV, radio, print media. We really do it all at the end of the day, but we don't do any of that until we first do things in this order. And this is really what's, even before or after a pandemic, this is the problem we believe with marketing in America, and that is that people go straight to the media first. And the questions people always ask first is, where should I be advertising? What should I be spending my money on? And then a small amount of the time, some people are focused on the message, which is, how can I make an awesome commercial, or how can I make a flashy looking ad or website? But very, very rarely in the whole advertising and sales equation do we ask the question, what are we really trying to make happen? Because a tremendous amount of money is spent with the belief that if I just spend it, it will work. And every business owner who's ever done that knows that that's not true. Knows that, matter of fact, by our research, 8 out of 10 business owners in America cannot tell you if their marketing is working for them. And so there's $1.2 trillion spent in the advertising space, and those numbers would say about $1 trillion of it is wasted or not clear if it's working. And that just drives us mad. And that's that is something I encountered early on with our family business. My dad had a company, and I was the sales and marketing person, and it was a really tough time, and we looked to advertising to save our business, and it didn't happen. We ended up wasting a whole bunch of money in the process, and that pain is what we're trying to keep business owners from going through. So we developed this thing called the Maven Method, and it's basically this. We put strategy first before we ever spend a dollar or a second of anybody's time on advertising. We get very serious about what we're trying to make happen. And if you've ever been in one of our strategic planning sessions, you would know there's like dozens and dozens and dozens of questions that we get very clear on, so that our approach is foundationally sound. And then from there, when we know what we're trying to make happen, every purchase decision in the world is decided by human behavior. So we just say, what do we need to say to influence or change human behavior? And then from there, we just simply say, where's the most efficient way to deliver that message? And when those three things are in alignment, we believe it's impossible not to win with a marketing equation. And this is what we do for our clients. So I don't want to go too deep in the Maven Method today, but I would leave you guys with this. If you're having any of those like foundational problems with your marketing, and you've ever or are currently saying, gosh, I don't know what's working for me, start viewing it through this lens. And if you need help on that, you can reach out to us, and we can either point you to some resources and some trainings that we do on that, or if it makes sense, we could work with you one-on-one. So, but the big ideas I want to talk about today are in the context of that. What are the changes in strategy and message and media that have been set forth by this big ugly pandemic? And so I'm going to go kind of through just some highlights and some things I think are here to stay. And no matter what type of business you are, you should probably be thinking about these things. So what's changed probably forever, hopefully I'm not stating the obvious here, but the expectation for convenience. Shannon and I were talking before this, we went live today, and every single person in America made purchase decisions differently than they did before this whole thing. You had grandmas doing online grocery ordering, and that probably won't change. You had people subscribing to digital services that they would have never subscribed to. You had people adopting the internet and social media, and for heaven's sake, video conferencing that would have never used it. Many of us on this call would probably be in that boat. And so the expectation for convenience has just, before the process of doing that, and the fear and the uncertainty of transacting online and communicating online and fellowshipping online, that was too great. There was not a big enough reason to do it. Well, now everybody's done it. The water is fine. Everybody's enjoying the upsides of that. Yes, we miss our personal connections, but the upsides of that are here to stay. And that has, I think, tremendous impact on local business. Shortly after that, virtual selling, which is going to be a big kind of part of what I want to share today. Remote working, we all know that. I think commercial real estate is safe to say that's going to be a struggling sector for a while, because so many companies, ours included, are realizing, there's a really big upside to culture and productivity with remote working. So that's here to stay, and I think that has an impact on probably everybody. Media consumption habits, what we choose to watch, when we choose to watch, how we're interacting with our devices has changed, believe it or not. And then appreciation for our living spaces. So I think the whole culture of, even long after this thing is gone, people are going to have this emotional connection with their home and the things that, their sense of security that they didn't have before. And so I think you're going to see sectors of the economy continue to surge that have to do with home improvement, anything that has to do with having your space, and being able to be safe and secure in that. So those are the big things that are on our radar as we shift our strategy as a firm, and the types of things we're going to help people take advantage of in the wake of a lot of disadvantages. So the new strange, we saw in about a 90-day period, we saw some of the biggest companies in the world completely retool their service model. I'm talking about Walmart and Target and Best Buy and all these giant retail brands who, frankly, struggled with the online and virtual ordering thing. It was the same thing. They never had a reason to shift their model. Well, they've shifted so much so that they're seeing huge economic opportunity in it now. The way these companies are hiring and the way they're having to invest less in certain things and then reinvest that into more virtual things, it's created a lot of profit margin. So I just put a few up here, but look around and if the biggest companies in the world are doing it and realizing a profit and a business reason to keep doing it, that's got to change the way that Main Street America does business. And so just think about all that Walmart had to do to turn half their parking lot into a virtual delivery and a curbside delivery versus 2,000 people being inside their store on a day. Mercy, hospitals, health networks, we saw this happen. Like, I got a tremendous amount of service in my friends and family via video or via sit in your car and come in when it's time to come in. And I actually asked some of the administrators, when will you guys stop doing this? And they're like, it's here to stay. So you saw a centuries old model of healthcare change. We have some medical clients that retooled the way they do things as well. Anybody been to a Chick-fil-A lately? How do you cram 80 cars into a line and get them out in 12 minutes? It's very impressive. And what I didn't realize, there's an entire engineering team. I actually had the privilege of meeting their head engineer at a conference, and Chick-fil-A has an entire engineering team that constantly is trying to shave off fractions of a second of that experience of driving through their lines. And so you're seeing more money spent in innovation than you've ever seen, and there was never a reason for it before. And so what that means for you guys is, I think it's several things. I think the baseline of expectation for convenience and just how you think about doing business has to change. If you are waiting for it to go back to normal and holding on, maybe you're cash flowing just enough, or you're breaking even, hoping for the day that it goes back to normal. I think you need to check that reality, because there's no such thing as a tragedy that doesn't have opportunity on the other side of it, and it's just a matter of who sees the opportunity or takes advantage of the opportunity. And we saw this. What actually kicked the door open to, I'm going to share in a second, is some things that were actually already opportunities. It's just nobody had a clue or had a big enough inkling to take advantage of it. So first and foremost, this should go without saying. Hopefully I'm not being Captain Obvious here, but curbside service is here to stay, just for the sheer convenience. And especially if you're a commoditized business, if you're a non-experiential business, man, you just start tooling your process for this, because there's not a single mom in the world that wants to go back to taking 3 kids inside to pick up whatever it is she has to pick up. There's not a single person who wants to get out in the cold to go in and buy something that or shop for something that they didn't want to before, or that that isn't a fun thing to shop for, isn't an experiential thing. And what I think this means for retailers is also finding different ways to deliver that retail experience. Because before, a great strategy for retail was merchandising and how you displayed things in your store. And yeah, you would put this thing next to this other thing that complemented it, and people would walk by and they would say, I need that. And the person who walked in the store for one thing would leave with 3 or 4. And now online, that effect is not there, if they choose to just go transact online. But I think there's an in-between. I think there is a huge likeness, and there's a huge attraction to still doing business local. And you need to be thinking in terms of video and email marketing. You need to be building lists of your customers where you can reach them inside their home. You can do it with social media too, but your group of people, you really need to be building those lists. So the old fishbowl, hey, put your email in here if you feel like getting our emails that didn't work anyway. Like, that mentality of doing business has got to be more like, hey, in order to finish this transaction, we need your email so we can send you a receipt. You need to almost make it crucial to delivering your product. And if you can change the way people still don't want to feel like they're getting on an email list, but if you can change the way you're asking that question and saying, let me send you a receipt, or let me send you your warranty paperwork, or would you like $5 off, and positioning that email ask as a benefit. And then I'm talking, I'll take any questions anybody has on this specifically, but I'm talking about building a MailChimp account or a Constant Contact account or any of the email marketing softwares. Get one and start using it, because there's not just going to be this rush of people coming in to buy commodities. Now, if you're a higher end retail experience, or if you're a service experience, that's a little less the one I'm talking about. But curbside and having to reach people outside of your four walls is a big thing. So curbside's here. And if you don't have that, goodness, put the sign up and find some way to do that, because that's the thing. I've not been in, I was more of a 1 to 2 times a week probably go into a Best Buy. And I haven't been inside of Best Buy in months, because I ordered all online. And that's not just a young person thing. I think that's literally everybody is seeing that. I should have come prepared, but there are some companies that are going to make this really easy. Like the whole text us when you're in our parking lot or log into the app. That's going to become a facet of e-commerce you're going to see. Also, shopping carts, by the way, if you have not started the transition into e-commerce, that's something you need to be thinking about. And guys, I'm talking about even if you're a farm and home store. I'm talking about even if you're selling stuff that people need every day. Somebody's going to come in either online outside of your city or inside your city, and they're going to do it better than you. You do not want them to beat you to that punch, because when I can log on and have it in my cart and go pick it up in 15 minutes versus getting out and walking into your store, I'm just saying this baseline of expectation is there. So delivery is also here to stay. We saw companies like Grubhub and DoorDash and Uber Eats and these companies. There's actually one stuck in my driveway right now that are delivering groceries. I don't think that's going anywhere. So whether you hire a guy in a pickup to start delivering stuff for you, or you partner with services, or you build kind of a local community type delivery thing, I think it's here to stay. And I think it's even in small towns, I think it's a tremendous opportunity for somebody to thrive if you increase that convenience factor. And then of course, online ordering. We talked about this a second ago. Here's 2 things about the e-commerce space. It is easier than ever to get into e-commerce. If you have discipline and a laptop, you can learn it yourself. You can also hire it cheaper than it's ever been hired to build an online shopping cart, largely because of a service called Shopify. And they've taken this huge complicated thing that used to cost tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars to build a shopping cart. And if you want, you can be resourceful enough and do it on your own, or you can pay way less fees and way less complication taxes for building those. So be happy to take questions on this. Some people, this is intangible, like how would I put my product online, and they don't understand that. But even if you're a service, putting your information online in a way that people can download it and possibly even pay you for it is a huge thing. So those are some things I don't think are changing. So here's another big one. So the reality is, way before the pandemic, 96% of people already shopped online. So that's not an age range specific thing. We tend to think of online shoppers as, below 50s, and that just wasn't true. Like in the last 5 years before the pandemic, that had really expanded to all demographics, even 65 plus. People we wouldn't think of as traditional online shoppers. But here's the real kicker. In a survey of basically all of America, it was found that 51% of people would prefer to buy everything online if they could. Now, ordering from Amazon, everybody knows that's a thing. Ordering your hobby-based specific industry type things you don't have a shop for in town, everybody knew that was a thing. But we did not know that meeting with your attorney online and paying your attorney online was a thing. We did not know getting in-home consultations for home improvement was a thing. We did not know that the local, shopping with you at your local boutique was a thing online, because those were previously just brick and mortar experiences. And what this kicked open the door for is for a preference that was already there that just wasn't capitalized upon. We saw our clients who were normally brick and mortar type clients, when they started adding these online options, their conversion rates and the rate at which they were able to attract business literally went up to higher than it's ever been in a pandemic. That 40,000 selling opportunities we generated last year, we did more of those than ever before because of what I'm about to tell you. Here's the reality. Before, 98% of people would come to an average website. That's a national average. 98% leave without doing anything, without doing business with you. We were able to increase this to more like 20 to 30% of people were doing business with our clients. What we call a conversion rate, 20, 30% conversion rate versus, a 5. We thought before we were really, really good. We were beating the national average a lot by doing 5 to 10%. And we had many of them in the 20 to 30% range after we started doing what I'm about to show you. And it's all because this preference has long been there for people to do business with you virtually before they do business with you in person. And it's for all the reasons that we all know anyway. It's a hassle to have somebody in your home. It's a hassle to go to the store. It's a hassle to do all these things. And we can do it in a matter of minutes and in the safety of our home, safety from a physical space, but also safety in the I'm not going to get sold to and over, hassled. That's there. And so virtual selling, like pandemic started as expected, appointments and lead generation and selling opportunities went in some cases 50 to 80% down overnight, and we're freaking out. And that was a trend that was continuing for several weeks. And we're like, we got to do something about this. So virtual selling appointments, virtual ways for people to take the first steps, if not the entire process, but at least the first steps, became a secret weapon. And what happened, it was for virtually $0. It didn't cost us anything to do this. We kicked open the door to an entire bucket of customer preference that was not being capitalized on by anybody, not even their competitors. And so our clients that were the first to do this really, really benefited. Now, this may not be new news by this point because we're almost a year into this, but I do want to show you the effect that has remained in place, by the way. This is an example conversion report, and these two lines, if you can see the rest of the chart here, this is that orange line the blue line is conversion rate, meaning the amount of selling opportunities we were getting with a client. And you can see it started to tank in March. And then when we added virtual selling options, we saw that return to a higher rate than it ever had been before, which told us, wow, these people, not only are we getting back to our fair share of business, we're getting more than average, which means we're serving people in the way they needed to be served. This is kind of showing the same thing. So conversions went to an all-time low, and then they kind of went to an all-time high. We added the virtual selling options. This is on a service-based website. So somebody who does in-home services. And what they were doing is, before, the old way was, hey, call us and set an appointment. We'll come out to your house. And this big old long hassle. I think in this exact case, it was a window replacement company. And that takes a lot of commitment and energy, right? It takes a lot of gearing up for a homeowner to say, okay, I'm going to let you in my house. I know you're going to give me a sales pitch, and it might be high pressure, but okay, I'm ready to do it. But if we just say, hey, you can start that with the convenience and the ease and the safety of being on your couch, and we can do this via video, it was a huge thing. And we had guys starting to sell jobs with people they would never meet face to face until it's time to install their project. And it took a little bit of mental shifting, because they're like, how do I measure and how do I do all these physical tangible things? And it's like, you can worry about that later. It's the connection with the customer that's the most important thing. So you need to build that trust, and you need to be willing to build that trust via video and virtual appointments, virtual consultations. If you're somebody whose product is just literally and utterly, you got to be there, I still say, instead of saying schedule an appointment for me to meet you, even long after we're all vaccinated, scheduling that first online appointment is a great way to grab business and in fact grow and surpass competitors who are not doing that. And we're seeing it multiple times play out still now while people are less scared. So add a virtual selling option. We can talk about what that might look like for your specific business. But the thing is, even to this day, we're seeing 50% increases in conversion rates, which means we're getting a lot more. We're getting 50% more return on the money we were spending on marketing. So we're spending the same amount and getting 50% more result. In a lot of cases, that's like costing them hundreds of dollars less to acquire a client for our clients that are lead based. I'm talking about attorneys, doctors, plastic surgeons, insurance people, home improvement people. So if you're in any of those businesses where a lead is a thing for you, coaches and consultants, any of those things, like the virtual thing is making a huge difference. With that, you need to get comfortable with video. And if you are, I'll say it again, if you're waiting for this all to return to normal, it's not going to happen. If you're a person who, virtual meetings just make you mad, I don't like them either. Or if you're a person who's just like, I'm never going to be in front of a camera, you either need to hire somebody that's willing to, or you need to get over it. Because the consumption of video we saw it as much as 40% increase while everybody was at home, but it's really not going away. And so people who were able to thrive and say, I'm going to go into my store and I'm going to, get excited about 3 things on camera today and say in the comments below, call me and I'll put your name on it. We had a boutique friend that did that, or people who were willing to be awkward for a little bit while they got used to being on camera and were teaching, or giving, product knowledge away. We're giving tour experiences away. We have some colleges that did really well by doing virtual tours. The people who did that and got over their fear of doing video are thriving, and I believe they're set up to thrive for quite a while later, because that expectation isn't going away. So I really don't care what you do. I don't care if you sell insurance. I don't care if you're a nonprofit. I don't care what you are. If you're not comfortable with video, you need to get there. And by the way, we produced a pretty in-depth course during the middle of all this that teaches like the basic fundamentals of being on camera, what you need to look good, some ways to mentally prepare for this. We've got a whole free course that we did, and I'll give you the link at the end of this. If you're somebody who's not yet transitioned your selling process, or you'd like to sharpen your selling process for virtual appointments and online, I have a free thing we'll give you at the end of this that you can go watch and train your team. So we talked about virtual consultations. Here's what some of those literally look like. They're just buttons on the website. It pops up and says, when would you like to do a virtual consultation? It's not extremely complicated technology, but then that gives you the ability to follow up with them, send them a Zoom link, or however you want to do it, and just start that conversation. People still want to have conversations, but if they can do it in their home, it's so much better. Another thing with this, if you're a service-based business that's, in the old way of doing it was, we come out, we look at things, we give you a bid, and then you decide, you need to consider getting more comfortable giving out prices online. It's just the way things are going, because here's what's going to happen. Your competitors are probably doing that instead. You need to be willing to give prices or a range of prices without requiring that physical interaction. We have some home improvement people that are killing it doing that. You can see this is off their website. We give them lots of options. You can schedule a virtual estimate, you can schedule an appointment, and then we have a button here that says get a price now. And what happens after this is the person inside their office gets the information and they call them and they say, your project will be about this price. And then it's just this huge trust builder because they were the only company that was willing to do that, where all the other salesy type companies wanted to go out and manipulate the situation and control the conversation before they put their prices out there. And we've coached our clients to be transparent enough to do that over the phone, and it earns them a tremendous amount of business because of the transparency and trust and hassle-free factor there. So I'm just showing you a couple examples of, this needs to be pretty high up on your website or wherever you earn business from. Call for a virtual appointment or click here. So that is my, couple big shifts in strategy there is you need to be expecting that the customer expectations are different, even in small towns, even brick and mortar, even when it seems like, wow, things are back to normal. I've got traffic in my store now. Those are all awesome things. I'm not wishing that those don't happen. I'm just saying there's still opportunity for you to mix in virtual and video experiences. So messaging, same thing really. Baby steps is the key here. So I'm going to share a few ads that are getting awesome, lead rates for us. These are also going to be in home improvement. But the same is true for e-commerce, same is true for really any type of service business. Stop thinking about your goal is getting them to the sale. Your goal is to give them the next baby step. And again, this was already a thing. This was already a smart thing to do. But instead of saying, click here to schedule an appointment, how about click here to download our pricing guide? Or how about click here to see an example of all the other projects we've done, or see reviews, and start thinking about this as people are not ready yet for a number of reasons, namely their own convenience, to just jump in and say yes. There's this whole middle section of people who are still meandering around and would be willing to take the next step as long as that next step is reasonable and it's not running in and buying from you. So you can kind of determine what this means for your business, but it's really just good old classic service and being courteous and winning over customers. It's just, I think before we didn't have a big enough reason to worry about this. The economy was pretty good. The old way of doing business was still working, and that it's shifted under our feet now. So this is a client that is getting about 9-10 selling opportunities a day by doing this. Say no in a home appointment necessary, click here to get your price, and he gets the customer information, and he can follow up. The customer feels awesome because they've already got their price, and he's paying like $46 a lead, and his average sale that he's getting off of this is $7,000 to $8,000. So if you don't believe me that the numbers should tell you, how many times would you trade $46 for $7,000? I would do that every day. And it's all because we've gone to this baby step mentality. So it just requires you to think a little different. Very, very, very few people and very, very few categories have customers that are like ready to go right now and transact. Think about the customer as on a baby step journey. So this is kind of our Maven Method grid. We believe every good marketing plan has to have a provision for each of these strategies. What is your today's strategy? What is your tomorrow's strategy? What is your yesterday's strategy? And those strategies for today customers, meaning people who are out on the loose buying today, how can you communicate that you're cheaper, faster, or more convenient than the other options in your market? And the questions we ask to arrive at that is, who are you talking to? What are their needs, pains, hopes, and fears? How can your product satisfy one of those? And what's the most reasonable next step for action? If you do that and you do it better than your competitors, you will win the customer. Tomorrow customers are people who aren't quite there yet. These are these people in the middle we're talking about. And your marketing plan must have a provision for this if you want to grow and earn market share. That's just a thing. It's very, very hard to grow simply off of transactions and today's customer. So every good marketing plan has a tomorrow strategy, which is how am I most committed to my customer's life. This is a courtship. This is a journey where I'm going to win them over time. So then when it comes time for them to buy, we are already married. We're already, they already know, like, and trust us. And by the way, so the message process is basically the same, but when you're talking to a tomorrow customer in the middle, their needs, pains, hopes, and fears are traditionally different than the today customer. And on both of these, or all three of these types of customers, we acknowledge that we must use different media to reach them. And I'll go over kind of what our go-to medias are for those. But this has never been more important, because people are more and more their own authority on buying whatever it is you sell, even if it's not an overly technical product, because they're spending a tremendous more amount of time online. And so this has never been more important, because winning the customer over before they enter their own information mode that's where growth is going to start, long before the transaction is decided by them. So the third type of customer, which every business should be focusing on, even if you don't have an ad budget, is can you keep adding value to your past customers to earn repeats and referrals? So ask yourself, what things am I doing to earn today customers? And am I communicating how I'm cheaper, faster, more convenient? And all these things that I just talked to you about equal, more convenience, and you're talking about price and saving them time and energy. And then what am I doing marketing activities to focus on tomorrow customers? Am I earning future customers now? Or am I waiting to meet them at the finish line and lose to a competitor? And then yesterday customers, am I continuing to foster my existing relationships? And that is like ridiculously cheap, if not free, via email and customer appreciation events and just good old fashioned phone calling and just keeping your yesterday customers happy. So if you're in the mode of saying, dude, I got to get leads now, I got to get something going in my business today, the place today customers, people who are buying today, they almost always go to search engines. You can also find them with targeted social media. I'm talking pretty much specifically Facebook and Instagram ads. Broadcast media for commodity type products, things that a lot of people buy in a day, like groceries, clothes, like just things that we buy often. Smaller ticket items, broadcast can work for that. So I'm talking about TV or radio. And then targeted print can also similarly work for that. But remember, when you're talking about a today customer, you must communicate to some degree how you're going to save them time, money, or hassle by buying from you instead of wherever else they're going to find on these medias. So building relationships with tomorrow customers, your goal is to reach as many people for as cheap as possible. Without a doubt, TV, radio, and billboard are still the cheapest ways to do that. It is a myth that TV audiences are, it's a myth that nobody watches TV anymore, even traditional TV. Dollar for dollar, TV, radio, and billboards are still the cheapest way to reach the most amount of people. Younger people are falling off on the end of broadcast and like cable. But everybody still listens to radio. Don't let anybody tell you differently. Even if you're a XM satellite radio guy, you're weird. Most people, like 95% of America, listens to the radio within a week's time. Broad social media can be a replacement if you're not a localized business. It is more expensive to reach people on social media, paid even. It's more expensive. Your dollar goes less far. It goes about half as far on average on paying for Facebook ads or any other digital media than it does on TV and radio. Just know that. It doesn't mean that it's not a good thing to do. It just means that in a lot of cases, if you have the budget to support it, TV and radio is a better option for reaching mass amounts of people. Broad social media has its place, but and then I guess the third most potent media selection for reaching large groups of people is usually a lifestyle or a print type thing, like a magazine that people read often. These are just our three go-tos when it's time to earn tomorrow customers. And then yesterday customers, every single person should be doing this. I don't care if you don't have two nickels to rub together, you can go get the free version of MailChimp and write your own emails and service your own customers and keep them in love with you. so that they tell their friends about you, and then they come back and do business with you. If anybody has any specific things they want to tackle with that, we're at the end here, so I'm going to start taking questions. But email marketing, direct mail, even if you handwrite a letter to your top 20 customers every month and thank them or tell them about something cool, it'll cost you a stamp, right? Do it. Or you can go with any amount of really great companies locally that will do direct mail for you. And then social media, I hesitate to put this one on here because for those of you that don't know, a Facebook audience, if you have 10,000 followers on Facebook, statistically, a post would reach less than 3% of those. Facebook, if you don't put money behind it, is just not reaching your customers, not near in the way that email marketing would. And so social is a great customer service tool. You just have to be really, really interesting. You have to be really consistent, and you have to be probably willing to put a little money behind boosting your posts. So it's not this free way to connect with people. And so that's just kind of giving you guys some concepts, some go-tos. That's how we prioritize marketing. But the big takeaways are convenience is here to stay. It's been re-engineered. Billions of dollars have been spent already by the big companies. And if you want to compete, find a way to deliver that, and then find a way to communicate it properly through the media that we just talked about. So I'm gonna pull this back and just say, I'm hoping there's some people out there that have some burning marketing questions that we can just handle on the fly. And so I'll just open that up if you guys are ready for that.
Very cool. Brandon, thank you so much. This is you've been a wealth of knowledge. Let me open it up. Shannon, I know there's so much great information that Brandon shared. Any questions from Aurora?
So it was amazing, and I like the fact that, and I'm sure other people do that. If you're a small business, putting something into your advertising budget, if you're not really doing it, is very important. So when it comes to the broad social media, would it be a plus? Say they only have a Facebook page. So it would be possibly a plus for them to go in and spend a little extra money boosting. Would it be better to boost a sale? Would it be better to boost their entire page? I mean, on that kind of, I guess, line.
So every single time, literally, we spend millions of dollars in marketing. We go back to this stupid, simple graph every time. And it's like, what am I expecting? What am I trying to make happen? Do I need customers in the door today? And most small business owners say, absolutely, got to have them today. Got to have them this weekend. Okay, so if you're retailing a commodity, how are you cheaper? Or how are you a better value? Or how can you deliver it faster? Or how can you make their life more convenient? Answer one of these questions to some degree. And to your question about, am I boosting a page or am I boosting whatever, it's a specific message. Nobody's going to stop their thumb on something that says, hey, look at our business. We were founded in 1982. I mean, yes, your friends and your mom will give you a thumbs up and give you some feel good. But that's not motivating anybody to do business. So take the item, the widget, or the service. Do you want to throw a hypothetical out? Do you know somebody who could use a specific example?
Oh, okay. Let's just take for example, we'll go with a restaurant.
Awesome.
Would it be best that hey, it's Tuesday and we're running a special to hit that and it may be how many days before?
Special's great. And if it's food, what you need to look at is buying cycle. So if it's food, people make food decisions 3 times a day minimum. So literally every 3 hours. And that's your window to capitalize on that. But I'm glad you said restaurant. Give me a genre. Are we talking about Mexican, American? What are we talking about?
Let's just do like a family restaurant, just something that serves everything.
Alice Irene's. Is Alice Irene's on here?
Yeah.
Love Alice Irene's. I am missing me some Alice Irene. Okay. Somebody send me a prime rib sandwich from Alice Irene's. But okay, so here's what Alice Irene's does. If Alice or Irene, whoever actually owns the place, I don't know, but if they say, okay, let's get a crowd in here Tuesday night, you're going back there and you're taking a picture. I'll just call it out, the prime rib, or it could be the fried chicken, or it could be the gravy, or whatever. And you're saying, you were asleep at 4 a.m. this morning, but Alice wasn't. She was here putting the peppercorns and the salt on this prime rib, getting your dinner ready. $12.95 will get you a plate full, unless you want to go big, and you can get the 8-ounce cut for $15.95. And I'm talking some juicy pictures. I'm talking about, you better call now, because there won't be any seats left by the time you get here. And that's the post. And I'm putting that in, reasonably any restaurant could expect a 10-mile radius. And I'm putting that in a 10-mile radius, and I'm throwing $20 behind that sucker. And that's what I'm running if I'm a restaurant.
That's awesome. That's really
But
awesome.
see how the message was specific?
Right.
It wasn't like, we've got a great menu and free water. That's what most restaurants would say. And it's like, be a little more interesting than that. You got to sell. You can't just count on the media to do that for you. So tell the story, right?
Right. That makes perfect sense. And I like the fact that, knowing those kinds of things. I mean, I guess I think about food all the time. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's a really great point, is to get really direct about it. So,
Brandon, a quick question. How did you think about the $20? How do you think about budget for an ad? What's the logic there?
The quickest way to answer that question is that most advertising on Facebook, so there's this thing called cost per thousand. That's a measure of how far your dollar goes. So that means, what if I put, how much does it cost me to reach 1,000 people, or for my ad to be seen 1,000 times? And so I happen to know on Facebook, your cost per thousand is typically about $20. So that's $20 to reach 1,000 people. And that's just it's kind of driven by competition. It's a moving target. Some days it could be 15, some days it could be 35. If the president's trying to get elected and buying up all the media, it could be 50. I've seen that happen. But you over time you would adjust that for your own experience level, right? I said $20 because in a 8-hour time span, if 1,000 people see this awesome thing, I'm gonna guess I'm gonna get 50 of them in my restaurant, right? And if 50 people buy a $12.95 plate at a 30 margin, that's $2,000 profit. Right? No, I didn't do that right. 500.
And I get the general logic. Yeah, that makes sense. Sure.
So, man, it's a really hard question to ask for a business. I will say this: on an annual spend, if a business is in growth mode, if they're not just in maintain their own customer base mode, 10 to 15% of top line sales is pretty standard into marketing. And it sounds like a lot for probably a lot of businesses. I would adjust that down if your margins are lower. If you're in a retail space where you're not making Keystone on everything, it might be more like 6 to 8%. And then I'm dividing that out by a month, and then I'm saying, here's what I should probably be spending on a month to reach, the people I need to reach to earn more business and market share.
Very cool. Thank you, Brandon. Melissa, any questions from you, from Herman?
I don't have any questions, but I just, my takeaway is how important it is for our small businesses to accept the fact that some of these changes that they've made due to the pandemic really need to be long-term now.
Yeah.
I just wonder how many of them have thought that, hey, the customer is going to demand differently going forward, instead of it just being something that's going to go away.
Yeah. So in your business, and you're working primarily with experience type, companies. I'm saying don't leave the money on the table. People are going to return to vacations. We have to. It's in our being to travel and have adventures. And I think you're in pretty good shape with the type of vacation that you are, because you're less dangerous than getting on an airplane. That said, there's still money on the table, because instead of charging me $39 for the wine tasting, why don't you give me the wine tasting for free, but put me on a $15 a month or a $30 a month wine experience where you're going to ship me 2 bottles, and then every night on Thursday nights you're going to have a virtual wine tasting, and you're going to send me an email before of what cheese to go buy at the grocery store so I can have the experience. And that's what I'm saying. That's what's here to stay, is the hybrid experience.
Yeah, good. Great example.
Very good. So I actually have a couple questions that have just come through. Brandon, what are your thoughts about Instagram for a business?
I view it as the exact same as Facebook. It's awesome. If you're not doing it, you're missing out. But I will say that if you're doing Facebook or Instagram and expecting a bunch of results without putting money into the advertising platform, you're not in reality.
Gotcha.
Instagram and Facebook both continually pull out the reach of organic posts, and they have to. They're a business. So if you're in the mode of free social, it's like, okay, you can go do that with all the other people that think that's cool, and you can get together and celebrate how many posts you did in a week, but you probably didn't reach very many people.
Very good. And then,
by the way, Instagram is admin through the same exact platform as Facebook ads. So if you're running Facebook ads, it's a click away to also run them on Instagram.
Gotcha. Very good. Okay. So the other question was, they had been told that you should post several times a day to stay in people's news feeds. What is is that a positive that you're in there posting?
That can actually do you damage. Here's the rule. Facebook is looking at your content over time, and they're saying, are these people interesting, or are they boring our viewers to death? And the way they determine that is by how much engagement they get on the posts. And the robots in the background are saying, the last 3 times this chick posted, that was goose eggs. It looked like she got was her mom. So, and I'm being cynical, but it's like, only post when you have something worthwhile to say. And if you just follow the principle that all of the tech and all of the hacks and all the tricks are the only reason they're designed is to keep the experience high quality for their user. If you're ever trying to beat the system by posting a certain amount of times a day, that's not the principle. That's not what you should be focused on. Focus on adding value to people's lives, and if you do that, the tools will reward you every single time. That's what they're designed to do. So I haven't seen that person's content, and I'm not trying to be brash about it, but post as often as you have something interesting to say, and that might be once or twice a month. And and with that, entertainment is a hack. If you entertain and do funny or goofy or inspiring or some sort of emotional thing, that is like the spoon of sugar that makes your message go down, right? So do that. And to which degree you're entertaining. I'm not very entertaining, so I don't post often, but to which degree you're entertaining or otherwise valuable is the degree to how often you should post.
Okay, very good. Brandon, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Brandon, let me, before we wrap up, you're such a wealth of information and great experiences. And I just love even the examples you came up on the fly for the restaurant and for the wine industry. I can only imagine what your team can do if you had more time to work on some of these ideas. Share with us, how can someone work with your agency? What does a project look like? And to the extent you can share the details of how a small startup can think about engaging with your firm, can small businesses afford you? What does that look like?
So there's kind of there's probably a threshold that makes sense. I'd probably save that conversation for offline. I would say this though, we're building out two tracks to help businesses. So when we started growing like really fast a few years ago, what happened is we got all this business, and then we realized, oh my gosh, we're gonna have to hire 50 people, and then the quality of our engagement is gonna go down. So what we started doing is building this thing called the Maven Method, the Maven Method training, where we teach principles, the things that we would normally do for people. We give all of our trade secrets away, kind of like I'm doing today, but like in the form of hours and hours and hours of videos and worksheets and things you can actually go do. In the first sector, the first industry we built that out for is the home improvement industry, and kind of anybody who's in a service-based business could benefit from it. And you can hit that at mavenmethodtraining.com. So if you're in any kind of service business and you need to grow leads, like the first thing I would say is, get on a call to discuss what that course is. I mean, it's money. That in that case, it's not free because we've invested a ton of time into it, but it is literally information that would pay for itself in usually a couple weeks' time if you follow what we say to do. So that's the first way. If you're in the other two types of businesses we work with primarily are professional services. So any type of medical, legal, CPA type businesses that like to get leads for new clients. That's a thing that we do. And we also do quite a bit of e-commerce. So if lead generation or otherwise online engagement with your brand is the thing, we're probably a good fit to talk to. Retail is something that is so special and so nuanced for so many different industries. I would recommend, we don't do a ton of retail just for that. It just takes so much energy to spin up for a specific retail brand. The only exception would be if you wanted to get into e-commerce. So, but in that case, anybody who's a retail store or somewhat brick and mortar based in a smaller town, my biggest advice is go find what's working in a bigger city and copy it. Because if it's working there, they're 2 years ahead about what's going to happen in small town America. So go follow the big boutiques. Go follow the anything that's happening on a coast. Things move inward from the coast, and just get ahead of it and let it inspire some ideas for if you're stuck. Because they're going to be they're going to have the latest camera tricks, and they're going to be pay attention to how they do their images on their products and the language they use and the emojis they use, and what times a day they're doing their virtual appointments. And just find somebody who's like your big brother in the industry, who's just got a bigger playground than you do, because they have, it's just a different setup, and they're going to be ahead of you. And what's the saying? Copying is the greatest form of flattery. Well, flatter them to death and copy what they're doing.
I love it. Thank you, Brandon. That's really, really sagely advice. We appreciate your tremendous expertise, your time. Great. Good luck with continuing to expand your services, and to the extent that our audience, just encouraging anyone in our audience who's interested in learning more about Brandon and his organization, please. Is that the link they should be going to?
No, ideally it is. For some reason that one is broken. I'll
Okay.
probably have it fixed in 5 minutes, but go to frankandmaven.com if you want to download the 131 ways guide.
Great.
And it's the first link on the top of the page there. Last thing I'll say is we're launching our book here in a couple weeks. And so if you want a copy of that and you want to be on that list, just email me at bw@frankandmaven.com. Shameless plug. It's called the Maven Marketer: How to Stop Wasting Money on Advertising and Build a Legendary Business. And it's basically just our expansion of all the ways we made mistakes over the years, and then what we found works. So it's a fast track to not wasting money, and really a fast track to profitability in advertising.
Excellent.
All
right.
Yeah, the last thing that keep business alive. This is our video training thing, and it's like all of our stuff about how to build a presentation, how to set up tools, how to look natural on camera, and that will be live at keepingbusinessalive.com. It just for some reason it's broke. it's broke for the next 5 minutes. Keepbusinessalive.com. So hit that, and we used to charge money for that, but I will go make it free for everybody. Some of it is, right smack dab in the middle of the pandemic content, but other parts of it are infinitely useful for hopefully forever. So
Sounds great. All right. Well, thank you, Brandon. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Melissa. Thank you, Shannon. We appreciate everyone's time today. And
thanks for having me, guys. It's an honor. It really is. I love small business. You guys are where our heart is. And don't hesitate to reach out if there's something we can help you through.
sounds good. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Good day. Bye-bye.